So there will be smuggling of underwears. I don't really think so. I really think some of the industries need to come back, for the middle American.
I think that in some ways, maybe our high energy costs will help that to happen. Because if the energy costs rise so high, and we did a story about this a couple of weeks ago, where one thing that is causing jobs to come back home is that the fuel costs for just basically shipping that stuff back is becomes so exorbitant that the dollar doesn't stretch as far in those countries anymore. And because the prices fluctuate so wildly there, jobs are starting to come back. Manufacturing is starting to come back. Now, if we could only have our own domestic energy, then we could actually find a way to sustain ourselves here, whereas the rest of the world may be going all over the place and fluctuating with the rest of the world market. There's a lot that says we ought to be investing in energy domestically, and that might actually help manufacturing.
Drill, baby, drill.
Well, maybe not on my beach, though.
Folks, on last Wednesday in Diwali, Rajat Gupta took himself out to FBI and surrendered. As you know by now, that Rajat Gupta has been charged with 4 counts of defrauding the investors. As you may recall, Rajaratnam was sentenced for 11 years, and he was one of the persons who received some of that inside information. But the talk around town has been, how do you look at Rajat Gupta? An icon in Indian community. We were very proud of him when he's going up. But right now we all have the same attitude which says, look, there are thieves in every community. And he's one of those thieves, even though his lawyer says he's not a thief. And I agree that he's innocent till proven guilty. But in the meantime, the Indian community, they're feeling, look, everybody has thieves in their communities. Why should we be ashamed of him? Let him be ashamed of himself.
Well, because the Indian community doesn't want to have any mud that comes off of this reflect back on the community. Let's face it. But he is, and Rajaratnam are two figures of the highest order of Indian participation in Wall Street that have been indicted. And therefore, of course, they're going to reflect on the community. You can't get away from that. Now, what I find very interesting about this case is that it's that fine line scenario between what is considered insider trading and what is considered conversation, right? I think I would like to believe that in some cases, folks like Rajat Gupta didn't know at the time, maybe to the extent that they were in such violation of U.S. law.
They were just doing gossip.
Maybe.
Is that what you're saying?
I'm saying that it can be a very fine line between what you think is wrong and what is actually wrong. I'm not sure that in some cases these guys realized, or maybe Rajat Gupta realized, that he was creating such a large risk for himself with these, probably what he thought were just very conversational items. However, I think we all learned a very, very heavy lesson out of this, because clearly anybody that goes into this kind of work in the future is going to remember these two figures and how much of a stir they caused, not just within our community, but this was front page news. This was in the evening news. This was everywhere.
This is a good deterrent for the people who think they want to follow them. And actually, when I look at it, for instance, Rajat Gupta is a brand name. Brand name. What people did with his brand name is, they started at business college. Rajaratnam said that he paid $1 million. And you know who got the most credit? Rajat Gupta got the credit, even though it was his money. The name Rajat Gupta, the brand name, of course, which is mud right now, unless he's not convicted, then, of course, he's back again on. But in the meantime, I really think that Rajat Gupta, he went up on the backs of some of these community members. Rajaratnam being one, gave him $1 million. People think many times that Rajat Gupta was a very honest guy. He did so much for charity. Let's face it, President Clinton's charity turns a lot of money, and a tremendous amount of money. Where does it go? It might go to Rajat Gupta's charity in India, or it might go to his business college, or it might go to others. Where does the money go?
Well, I think
it is all a business.
It is a business, which is why I think there's many people, even within the Indian community, who are saying this was a witch hunt. They needed to find someone responsible, and they found their guy. And by having such a big name at the top, take basically the blame upon his shoulders, it somehow frees up everybody else who probably participated. I'm sure it was not a one-man thing.
It is is not.
So clearly, these two will go down for these actions, and there'll be repercussions in the community. But if in the end of all of this, we as a community can rebound, can preserve our reputation, can be more ethical in the way that we go forward with pursuing businesses and investing, then I think the community will rebound and come back. But yes, we took a hit. We were not a perfect community, and it's maybe a good thing because it takes us off our pedestal.
That's true. One of the things that I remember about Rotary International, one of their motivation factors is always ask, a businessman should always ask, is it good for the community? If it is good for the community, do that business. If it's not good for the community, don't do it. Look at the amount of money that has been lost in the Wall Street in the last 3 or 4 years. It's wiped out United States richness by 40%.
And yet, the richest 1% of this country have seen their personal wealth go up by 275% from 1970 to 2009. So clearly the money did end up somewhere.
I want to tell you exactly how that goes, particularly the Occupy Wall Street. They should know why they are so troubled and bothered these days. Folks, an American CEO makes 475 times larger salary than that of average worker. 475 times. And look at this, in Japan, he only makes 11 times more than the ordinary worker. In Germany, it's 12 times to 1. France is 15 to 1. Canada is 20 to 1. South Africa is 21 to 1. Britain is 22 to 1. Hong Kong is 41 to 1. Mexico is 47 to 1. Venezuela is 50 to 1.
So we are more than 5 times the average across the country.
That's very
across
true.
The world.
The top 1% in 1962 were making $6 million. Today, they make $14 million. Now, you take that to the lowest fifth, which is the lowest 20%, and you got negative net worth in 1962 of $7,000. Now they have a negative net worth of $27,000. That's the bottom 20%. The top fifth, which is the top 20%, they used to have a net worth of $800,000 in 1962. Today they have a net worth of $1.7 million. So yes, the top has gained a lot, whereas
at the expense of those that are sitting in those bottom tiers. Of course, it's disproportionate, and that's what that Occupy Wall Street movement is all about.
But how do you close the gap?
I think you reform it a couple of ways. A, you don't let these executives sail out after they've caused havoc on these golden parachutes, right?